Hello, welcome back for the Doers Podcast. My name is Sayda, your host. Thank you for being here. If it is your first time, welcome. And to everybody else, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since the last episode. If you are listening for the first time, for the Doers, has been around for a while, but I was on hiatus for about 3 years. I wanted to start the podcast again because my life has changed. And for the Doers, started as a way to explore living an authentic life. Our tagline is for the doers, for people who live life on their own terms and don't settle for less. So that's the premise. And last week, I started talking about the changes, which I'm telling my story. I am to recap, I am a survivor of sexual abuse and sexual assault from the ages of 7 to 17. Not easy to talk about, but I wanted to finish the conversation that we started having last week because there is such a stigma attached to mental health in general. And of course, sexual abuse and sexual assault. And I want to tell my story because I've done a lot of work and I have the ability to speak about it now. And my goal is that if one person hears my story and is helped, if it gives you just a little bit of courage or a little bit of strength, then I'm grateful. So it was really hard to come back this week because part of the process of doing shadow work, working on your issues, is that you have done work and your life has changed, but old habits die hard. You keep trying to do things in the same way, and it doesn't always work. I started recording the episode again, and I just felt like I was being performative because I was just following the steps that I used to follow before 3 years ago when I was doing the podcast in the past, but I'm not the same person. And I had to work through it mentally on why I was resisting. But again, it was because I was trying to check boxes, not just be myself and speak, which is always so much better for me. But I'm sharing that with you because I want to share this journey, the process of becoming your authentic self truly. And I was working through the masking. I can't wear masks anymore because that has always led to burnout for me in my life. And that's part of doing the work is recognizing these old habits and working through it, which is where we are. My life before doing the shadow work and literally going through a dark night of the soul was about keeping the peace and checking off all the boxes and being the perfect daughter, the perfect friend, and the perfect everything. I'm first generation. My parents came from the Dominican Republic. I'm first generation. My father was a minister, so I'm a preacher's kid. So you're familiar with preacher's kids, you probably understand where I'm coming from. And that was my life. I said keeping the peace, people pleasing, not setting boundaries, looking for validation in all the wrong places with all the wrong people. That's what brought me to that place of just clinical depression, really intense anxiety and panic that just to come out of nowhere, but it was because I was just pushing it down all the time because I didn't have time for it. I wanted to just work and live my life and be that girl. It's taken me years to get to this space where I am right now because couldn't face it and I couldn't do it alone. That's the most important thing is that I couldn't do it alone. 8 years ago, I had a mental breakdown and it took me a while to get here. The hardest thing was asking for help. I didn't really have a choice because when you have a breakdown, you kind of get help. I didn't know anything about depression. Didn't have time for that, my family. Yeah, I had to get help. Luckily, my doctor at the time was incredibly resourceful and supportive in helping me to get the right help. And my husband at the time was also very helpful and supportive. And I was lucky to have them at that time because I didn't tell very many people what was going on. But started, and this was again, my doctor suggested hypnotherapy, which really helped me get in there. I still had not the terms with the abuse and assault, but I started learning to have the agency to deal with the stress and how I wasn't dealing well with it. So hypnotherapy again really helped me to start opening up. I also started doing transcendental meditation. That was the next step after hypnotherapy. And wow, really helped. Transcendental meditation really helped me get deep into my mind so that I could start naming the demons. It really helped me to not be as reactive and to slow down, which meditation in general is great for that. Transcendental meditation worked for me at that time. I don't do it regularly anymore. I still do it sometimes, but I admit I don't do it as regularly anymore. Um, yeah, for about, let's see, so 2017 up until 2023, I was doing all of those things, therapy, do therapy very much, but was getting help. So in 2020, my father became really ill, and I had to become his caretaker while the pandemic was going on, which was an adventure. Really difficult. I had a lot on my plate. I was, of course, I'm so grateful that I had a job in the pandemic, taking care of him while working and managing a team at work and at home because I had to have caregivers for my dad. It's just wow. I don't know how I made it through that year. And he passed, and closing up his life was a lot. So grateful. My dad was 84 when he passed and had a wonderful life. So grateful that we had him for that long. And yeah, went along with my life. Then in 2023, the algorithm on YouTube brought me a video about a lady named Marylin Derber. Her story was that she was a American beauty queen, I believe in the 60s or 70s. And she was telling her story about being sexually abused by her own father. I started watching it, and it was the first time that I heard someone else's story. Thankfully, no, mine wasn't hers, but her story just broke me. I wanted to turn away from it, and I couldn't because the way her mind was dealing with the demons of abuse was so similar to my own story. And it was the first time that I saw myself as a victim and realized that I needed to get help for that trauma specifically. because all kinds of memories started coming up. And I had to get help. And I also realized that I think I was waiting, not waiting, I don't want to say waiting for my dad to pass, but I did not want him to experience or to know what I had been through. And I think my mind, just protecting him. My mom had already passed in 2006, but I never said anything to her either. I was protecting my parents from knowing what happened to me as a kid. And they knew some of these people. Gen X, lips were sealed. And to get real help for that. And I started with hypnotherapy again. When I've done hypnotherapy, it's usually very specifically, a situation for stress. This obviously started revealing the trauma. I started breaking down again, but this was so much more severe because I was suffering from PTSD, full on PTSD, nightmares. I didn't want to close my eyes because there were so many memories coming back. And I had to deal with it. I had to face those demons. And it was the hardest thing I could ever do. I understand why people don't want to work on their problems because it is not easy. You're fighting monsters if you're a victim who's going through and remembering all these awful things that you had forgotten, your mind had protected you from. So once again, it was so extreme that I had to get a lot of help. I had to reluctantly take time off to heal. And I did. I saw that video of Marylin in 2023. So that was almost 2 years ago. So I've really only worked specifically on the trauma in the last year and a half. And I'm just getting to that light at the end of the tunnel now. But it took all of that time for me to even get to a place where I could exercise the demons that I could finally name. What I saw there is it took a long time for me because I was afraid, as I would be. I don't know that I would have done any of that. It didn't start bubbling up, but that is how the brain works. And I feel that if I've done this and gotten through it, that it is my responsibility to tell my story, to help other people who are going through something similar, know somebody who's going through it. I just feel the need in my heart. And it hasn't been easy to talk about. But again, being authentic, being true to yourself, worth it. And honestly, it's not easy. It's incredibly hard to work through it and expel those demons. But wow, my life now, I have clarity and joy so deep inside me now that I do want to share how refreshing and wonderful it is not to have all that baggage anymore. I never thought I would get here. You never thought I would get here. 6 months ago, you couldn't even tell me that I was doing this. I was on the road to self-delete. And I'm being really honest because that's just how I am. Even more so now. My advice to anyone who's dealing with trauma or heavy challenges like this is just start where you can, even if it's talking to a friend that you trust or talking to your doctor. Remember, of course, if you can, again, just talk to somebody who you trust if you're having any type of mental health issues. Just talk to somebody because I truly believe that when you start that journey, your mind will work to get you to a place of healing. Telling you that from experience, and just start wherever you can. I will, as I did last time, post at the end of the video a couple of helplines that can help you if you want to talk to somebody anonymously. You can also text on some of these lines, which anonymous, even that will help you. But just if you are ready or you know that you need to start working on it, even if it's anonymous, talk to somebody to help yourself live your life on your terms. I'm so grateful. I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story. And moving forward, I wanted to just tell my story because we are talking about authenticity and living life on your own terms. And honestly, for the first time, I really feel like my life is completely mine. And I feel true happiness because I'm not hiding anything. I'm not hiding behind anything. And that's the best. I am so grateful that you are here, and I thank you so much for your time. Next week, I want to move on. And we don't always want to talk about just mental health, but so much going on right now. It's so easy to feel discouraged and disillusioned right now. But I think that we can build community around authenticity, around doing what we can within our control. You can't control all the wackiness that's going on right now in the world. You cannot control it. All you can do is control your reactions to it and your own decisions for your own life. That's it. Thank you so much for being here. I can't tell you how grateful I am. Thank you for coming to my therapy session. We will be back next week where I want to talk about social media. It's such a fertile subject right now. And we're talking on social media, but such a fertile subject right now. And if there's something specific you want to talk about, or if you have any questions, put it in the comments. I'm so grateful for your attention and your time. Be well and love yourself because you're all you've got. Thank you. Bye.